The enemy did not attack you randomly. There was a reason you became a target. Before you ever understood your purpose, before you ever understood why your spirit felt different from others, before you understood why certain rooms drained you while others seemed comfortable there, darkness had already noticed something about your life. You thought you were simply emotional, too sensitive, too tired, too overwhelmed. But this battle was never only emotional. It was spiritual. There has been warfare around you for longer than you realize. Invisible warfare. Silent warfare. The kind that slowly wraps around a person's soul. The kind that drains strength little by little. The kind that convinces someone they are broken, when in reality they are under attack. I saw every attack. Every anxious night. Every moment fear entered your thoughts unexpectedly. Every wave of heaviness that settled on your chest. Every exhausting battle you fought silently while pretending to be okay around people. I saw the nights when your mind would not slow down. The nights when you stared at the ceiling trying to understand why you felt so empty. The nights when exhaustion covered your body but sleep refused to bring peace. You blamed yourself for so much. You called yourself weak. You called yourself unstable. You wondered why simple things felt heavy. But weak people do not survive what you survived. Weak people do not continue moving while carrying invisible pain every day. Weak people do not keep searching for hope after this much emotional warfare. You are wounded, but you are not weak. The enemy wanted you to believe otherwise. Because if you ever fully realized how much strength I placed inside you, fear would begin losing its grip. The enemy attacked your peace because your peace carries authority. He attacked your identity because your identity carries power. He attacked your confidence because confidence would unlock your calling. He attacked your emotions because emotionally exhausted people stop fighting spiritually. That was the strategy. Not always instant destruction, not always dramatic collapse, but slow exhaustion, slow discouragement, slow hopelessness. Little by little, pressure after pressure, disappointment after disappointment, until your soul became tired. You wondered why your spirit never fully rested, why your mind constantly felt heavy, why fear appeared suddenly, why anxiety followed you without warning, why sadness sometimes arrived for no visible reason, because there were unseen attacks against your peace, against your purpose, against your future. The enemy knew something about you before you knew it yourself. He recognized traces of purpose on your life. That is why warfare increased around you. That is why discouragement became familiar. That is why loneliness often surrounded you. That is why betrayal cut you so deeply. Darkness hoped pain would redefine your identity. Hoped exhaustion would silence your destiny. Hoped disappointment would disconnect you from me. But I protected you, again and again, even when you could not see my hand. There were attacks that never reached you, because I stopped them. There were doors I kept closed, because danger stood behind them. There were people I removed from your life, because they carried destruction with them. You cried over some endings, but heaven called them rescue. You called some closed doors rejection, but I called them protection. You called some delays punishment, but I was preserving your future. Because where I am taking you cannot be contaminated by everything that tried to attach itself to your spirit. The enemy became frustrated because every attempt to destroy you kept failing. You are still here, still breathing, still searching, still surviving, and hell hates that. Because there were moments darkness truly believed you would collapse completely. Moments when fear wrapped around your mind so tightly that tomorrow felt impossible. Moments when emotional exhaustion became so heavy that even simple tasks drained you. Moments when you smiled publicly while secretly fighting battles nobody else could see. I saw all of it. I saw the hidden tears, the hidden panic, the hidden overthinking, the hidden exhaustion, and I stayed beside you through every moment, even when you struggled to feel me, even when prayer became difficult. Even when disappointment made your heart grow tired, I never abandoned you. Not once. The enemy wanted your heart exhausted, because exhausted people stop dreaming. Exhausted people stop believing. Exhausted people began accepting survival instead of destiny. That was the real battle. To convince you that your future had no hope. To convince you that healing would never come. To convince you that peace belonged to other people, but not you. But the enemy lied. You are not forgotten. You are not cursed. You are not abandoned. You are under my protection. And the reason darkness fought you this intensely is because purpose still lives inside you. There is something on your life that terrifies the enemy. There is light inside you, discernment inside you, compassion inside you, a calling inside you, and hell recognized it before you did. That is why certain environments exhausted your spirit. That is why fake relationships drained you. That is why your soul never fully fit into darkness comfortably. Because you were never created to belong there. You were created to carry light, and light threatens darkness simply by existing. I know there were moments when you almost gave up. Moments when your spirit became tired from fighting invisible battles constantly. Moments when your own thoughts became overwhelming. Moments when hopelessness whispered loudly into your mind. But I protected you. You almost collapsed emotionally. But I protected you. You almost surrendered to despair. But I protected you. You almost believed the lies completely. But I protected you. Again, and again, and again. You have no idea how many times heaven intervened for you. There were nights angels stood guard around your life while you cried yourself to sleep. There were battles fought over your future that you never even knew existed. There were attacks assigned against your destiny that collapsed because my hand interrupted them. One day you will understand why certain plans failed, why certain people disappeared, why certain doors shut unexpectedly, why certain seasons became uncomfortable. It was not abandonment. It was protection. I was preserving your future. The enemy attacks hardest when breakthrough is close. That is why confusion increased before clarity arrived. That is why heaviness increased before healing arrived. That is why fear became louder before freedom approached. Hell sensed movement. Hell sensed awakening. Hell sensed transformation. And it panicked. Because if you ever fully awaken spiritually, certain chains will never control you again. The enemy feared the version of you that finally understands your identity in me. Because a healed person becomes dangerous to darkness. A spiritually awakened person becomes difficult to manipulate. A person who understands their authority no longer bows to fear so easily. That is why the warfare intensified. But hear me clearly now. You are not losing this battle. You are surviving it. And soon, you will rise from it. The heaviness over your spirit will not last forever. The fear will not own your mind forever. The exhaustion will not define your life forever. I am restoring you. Slowly, deeply, completely. I know how tired you became. I know there were mornings when getting out of bed felt difficult. I know there were moments when your heart felt emotionally numb. Moments when joy felt distant. Moments when you questioned your future. Moments when you wondered whether peace would ever return. I heard every silent cry, even the ones hidden behind laughter, even the ones buried under distractions, even the ones you never spoke aloud. I heard them all, and I moved closer to you in those moments, not farther away. My love for you was never dependent on your emotional strength. I do not abandon people when they become tired. I strengthen them. I carry them. I protect them. And I carried you through seasons that should have destroyed you. You thought you were barely surviving. But heaven saw a warrior refusing to surrender. Every time you stood back up after emotional collapse, you defeated something unseen. Every time you kept praying through exhaustion, you weakened darkness. Every time you kept hoping despite disappointment, chains lost power. You thought nothing was happening spiritually, but warfare was shifting around you constantly. The enemy wanted you distracted by pain, so you would never recognize your growth. But look at yourself. After everything you survived, you are still here. That matters more than you realize, because many times You came closer to quitting than anyone knew. There were nights when hopelessness sat beside you, whispering lies. Nights when fear convinced you that nothing would ever change. Nights when exhaustion made tomorrow feel unbearable. But I protected you, again and again and again. And now, you are entering a season where your survival will finally make sense. The pain was not pointless. The warfare was not pointless. The tears were not pointless. I was building discernment in you, strength in you, compassion in you, spiritual authority in you. One day, your testimony will become somebody else's survival guide. One day, your voice will help another exhausted soul keep going. One day, your healing will reveal my power to people who feel hopeless. Nothing you suffered will be wasted. I redeem pain. I restore broken places. I breathe life back into exhausted hearts. And I am doing it for you now. Do not fear the battle anymore. You are not abandoned inside it. You are protected inside it, covered inside it, strengthened inside it. Even now, while your heart still heals, while your spirit still feels tired some days, while your mind still fights certain fears, my hand remains over your life. You are guarded, watched over, protected carefully, and the enemy knows his time over your peace is ending, because you are waking up spiritually. You are beginning to see clearly again. You are beginning to recognize who you truly are, not forgotten, not worthless, not cursed, chosen, protected, called, deeply loved by me. The attacks came because purpose was near. The warfare intensified because breakthrough was close. The exhaustion increased because darkness feared who you were becoming. But hell failed. You survived. And now, your restoration begins. The enemy did not expect you to survive this long. He expected the fear to consume you. He expected the loneliness to isolate you completely. He expected the emotional pressure to silence your voice. He expected disappointment to convince you that I had abandoned you. But every time darkness tried to bury you, I breathed strength back into your spirit, even when you did not recognize it. There were moments when you thought you were falling apart, but what you called collapse. Heaven called transformation, because some things inside you needed to break. False identities, old chain, fear-based thinking, attachments that could not enter your next season. I know the breaking hurt. I know the stretching exhausted you. I know the waiting felt endless. But I was not destroying you. I was rebuilding you. The enemy wanted your heart filled with bitterness, wanted your spirit hardened, wanted your wounds to poison your future. But I kept preserving tenderness inside you, even after betrayal, even after rejection, even after disappointment. There is still softness in your spirit, still compassion, still love, still hope. And darkness hates that, because despite everything you endured, your heart still reaches for light. That is evidence of my presence inside you. The enemy studied your wounds, hoping to build strongholds around them. He whispered through your pain, through your memories, through your insecurities, trying to convince you that your story was over, trying to convince you that healing belonged to other people, trying to convince you that you would always live exhausted. But hear me now. This season of constant survival is ending. I am bringing rest to your spirit. Real rest. Not temporary distraction. Not fake peace. Real healing. The kind that reaches deep into hidden wounds. The kind that removes fear slowly from the roots. The kind that teaches your soul how to breathe again. I know you became used to heaviness, used to disappointment, used to expecting pain, used to preparing for abandonment. But not every season will look like the last one. Not every chapter will carry this much warfare. You are moving into restoration. And restoration often feels unfamiliar at first, because wounded people sometimes struggle to trust peace. But I am teaching your heart safety again, teaching your spirit stillness again, teaching your mind how to rest again. The enemy fought you because he knew your future carried impact. He knew your healing would help others heal. He knew your testimony would break chains around other people. He knew your voice would carry authority. That is why the warfare was personal. That is why the attacks felt relentless. That is why exhaustion followed you so closely. Hell was afraid of your awakening, afraid of your freedom, afraid of your breakthrough. But fear does not belong to the enemy forever. Eventually, fear changes sides. And now, darkness is beginning to fear the person you are becoming. Because you are surviving things that once almost destroyed you. You are standing in battles that once would have crushed you. You are growing stronger spiritually, even while healing emotionally. That terrifies darkness. The enemy wanted you emotionally numb, but instead you are becoming spiritually aware. He wanted you disconnected from me, but instead your hunger for truth increased. He wanted you silent. But one day your voice will shake chains off other people. Nothing the enemy planned against you will stop what I have spoken over your life. Nothing. Not fear. Not anxiety. Not exhaustion. Not betrayal. Not confusion. Not loneliness. My purpose for your life still stands, and I am walking with you into every future season. Even now, while you still carry unanswered questions, while some wounds still ache, while certain fears still try to return, I am healing you. Slowly, patiently, completely. One day you will realize how much strength it took just to survive this season. One day you will look back at your exhausted self with compassion instead of shame. One day you will understand that surviving spiritual warfare is not weakness. It is evidence that heaven was preserving something valuable inside you. And that valuable thing still lives. Your purpose, your calling, your future, your voice, your light. The enemy could not kill it. He tried to bury it under fear, under pain, under exhaustion, under disappointment. But purpose kept breathing underneath the rubble. And now I am uncovering it again. You will not remain in darkness forever. You will not remain emotionally crushed forever. You will not remain spiritually exhausted forever. I am leading you into healing, into peace, into clarity, into freedom. And when the enemy sees you rise from this season stronger than before, he will understand that everything he sent against you only pushed you closer to the destiny I prepared for you. You survived because my hand covered you. You survived because heaven defended you. You survived because purpose remained alive inside you. And now nothing darkness planned against you will stop what I am about to do in your life. There were seasons when you thought the battle would never end. Seasons when exhaustion became so familiar that you forgot what peace felt like. You learned how to function while emotionally drained. Learned how to smile while your spirit felt heavy. Learned how to keep conversations going while your mind silently fought fear. Nobody fully understood how much energy it took for you just to survive ordinary days. But I understood. I saw the hidden warfare. I saw how darkness tried to turn small disappointments into deep hopelessness. I saw how fear tried to multiply itself inside your thoughts. I saw how certain wounds kept reopening because the enemy wanted your pain to stay fresh. He wanted you trapped in emotional cycles, trapped in fear, trapped in exhaustion, trapped in survival mode. Because survival mode keeps people from walking boldly into purpose. The enemy knew that if you ever fully healed emotionally, if you ever fully understood your authority spiritually, if you ever fully recognized my hand over your life, you would become impossible to control through fear. That is why the warfare became so personal. That is why attacks often came through your emotions, through discouragement, through overthinking, through rejection, through loneliness, through invisible heaviness. The enemy tried to make your future feel dark before you even arrived there. Tried to make tomorrow feel hopeless. Tried to convince you that your best days were already behind you. But he lied. Your story is not ending in exhaustion. Your story is not ending in fear. Your story is not ending in emotional collapse. I am leading you into restoration. Even now, your spirit is recovering. Even now, your heart is healing in places you cannot yet fully see. Even now, chains are weakening around your life. I know healing feels slow sometimes. I know you became frustrated with your own process. Frustrated because some wounds still hurt. Frustrated because some fears still return. Frustrated because you expected yourself to be stronger by now. But healing is not always loud. Sometimes healing happens quietly, slowly, deeply, like sunlight entering a dark room, one small beam at a time. Do not despise slow restoration. The enemy rushed destruction, but I build healing carefully, completely. Nothing about your pain escaped my attention. Not the tears you hid, not the panic attacks nobody knew about, not the silent nights when your thoughts overwhelmed you, not the mornings when your body felt heavy before the day even began. I saw all of it, and I remained beside you through every battle, even when you felt spiritually numb, even when worship felt difficult, even when faith felt weak. I never left. The enemy wanted you ashamed of your struggle, wanted you hiding your wounds, wanted you believing that brokenness made you unworthy of love. But I move closest to wounded hearts, closest to exhausted souls, closest to people who feel forgotten. You do not scare me with your weakness. You do not push me away with your exhaustion. You do not lose my love because you became tired. I understand battles that human beings cannot explain. I understand spiritual pressure. I understand emotional warfare. And I understand how much strength it took for you to survive. One day you will realize that simply staying alive during certain seasons was an act of courage. One day you will stop condemning yourself for being tired. One day you will look back with compassion at the version of yourself that carried invisible pain every single day. And you will realize something powerful. I was carrying you the entire time. When your mind became overwhelmed, I carried you. When your heart became exhausted, I carried you. When fear whispered constantly into your spirit, I carried you. When you felt too weak to continue, I carried you. That is why you survived. Not because the battle was easy, but because my hand never left your life. The enemy underestimated the protection covering you. He underestimated the purpose inside you. He underestimated what would happen if you kept going despite the warfare. And now the season is changing. The same person who once cried in silence will speak with authority. The same person who once felt emotionally crushed will become emotionally stronger. The same person who once questioned their worth will walk confidently again. The same person who once barely survived the night will help lead others toward morning. Your suffering will not be wasted. Your survival will carry meaning. Your healing will carry power. And your future will reveal just how deeply heaven protected you all along. There were seasons when you felt emotionally trapped. Seasons when your own thoughts exhausted you. Seasons when your spirit felt surrounded by pressure from every direction. You tried to explain it logically, tried to convince yourself it was normal, but deep inside, you knew something heavier was happening. Because the exhaustion was not only physical, it reached your soul. There were moments when even peaceful environments felt heavy to you. Moments when your spirit became restless for reasons you could not explain. Moments when fear entered suddenly without warning. Moments when discouragement appeared right after hope started growing. That was warfare. And I need you to understand something. The enemy often attacks people closest to breakthrough with the strongest confusion. Because confusion delays movement. Confusion clouds discernment. Confusion weakens confidence. That is why your mind became such a battlefield. The enemy knew if you ever became spiritually clear, certain chains would break permanently. He feared your awakening, feared your healing, feared your obedience, feared the version of you that finally understands your authority in me. So he sent distraction, fear, emotional exhaustion, overthinking, isolation, anything that could keep your spirit tired. But even through all of it, I kept protecting your mind from complete destruction. You bent, but you did not break. You cried, but you did not disappear. You became exhausted, but you kept surviving. That was my hand over your life. Do not underestimate the strength it took to survive what you survived. Some battles were invisible to everybody around you. People saw your face, but they did not see the warfare happening inside your mind. They saw your silence. but they did not hear the internal battles you fought daily. They saw you functioning, but they did not see how hard you were fighting just to stay emotionally stable. I saw it all, and heaven never mocked your exhaustion, never shamed your weakness, never ignored your pain. I collected every tear, every fearful prayer, every exhausted whisper, every moment you begged silently for relief, and I answered in ways you did not always recognize. Sometimes, my protection looked like delay. Sometimes it looked like separation. Sometimes it looked like hidden preparation. Sometimes it looked like silence. But even my silence protected you. Because there were seasons when, if I had revealed everything at once, your exhausted heart would not have been ready to carry it. So I walked slowly with you, patiently, carefully, guarding your spirit while healing your wounds little by little. The enemy wanted you ashamed of your struggle, wanted you embarrassed by your exhaustion, wanted you to hide your pain until it consumed you. But shame was never from me. I was near you in every weak moment, every anxious night, every emotional collapse, every fearful morning. I never once looked away from you, and I am not looking away now. The warfare around you is revealing something important. Your life carries weight in the spiritual realm. Your prayers carry weight. Your obedience carries weight. Your future carries weight. That is why darkness tried to discourage you before you fully stepped into purpose. The enemy hoped exhaustion would stop you before destiny unfolded. But destiny is still alive. Purpose is still breathing. Your future is still protected. And heaven is still fighting for you. You will not remain in survival mode forever. The constant heaviness will lift. The fear will loosen. The confusion will clear. Your spirit will breathe deeply again. There is restoration coming that will shock the exhausted version of you. There is peace coming that your nervous system has almost forgotten existed. There is joy coming that does not depend on circumstances. There is healing coming to places inside you nobody else knows are wounded. I am restoring hidden places now. The secret fears, the silent trauma, the emotional bruises from betrayal, the exhaustion from carrying too much for too long. I am healing all of it. Not partially, completely. One day you will wake up and realize the heaviness no longer controls your mind. One day you will notice that fear no longer speaks as loudly. One day you will realize peace has returned slowly without you noticing. And when that day comes, you will understand that I was healing you even during the seasons when you thought nothing was changing. You were never abandoned. Not for 1 second. I stayed through every storm, every breakdown, every lonely night, every fearful thought, every hidden battle, and I will continue staying, because my hand is still over your life. My purpose is still over your life. My protection is still over your life. And your story does not end in exhaustion. It ends in victory. It ends in healing. It ends in freedom. It ends with you rising from the warfare stronger, wiser, spiritually awake, and deeply aware that I carried you through every dark season. The enemy attacked you because he sensed purpose, but purpose survived. And now, your breakthrough is closer than ever before.